Peggy 16.
I think we got all the core participants here. That's good. Then I would like to take the opportunity to welcome you to the UOTC Forward Observer course. With me today is Mr. Pi. Yeah, I haven't taught this. I've taught this with Pi a couple of times, but it's been quite a long time. I think multiple months, if not half a year, right? So I don't have an exact script for this, so I might get a little lost here and there, and hopefully Pi can help me, and vice versa. But to get into it, obviously the purpose of today here is this is a very large topic complex that you could spend lots and lots of time on, but we're only going to try to limit it for like 90 minutes, 2 hours ish. But the idea is to give you a very basic understanding of fire support and artillery in ArmA. What are the capabilities? What can you do with it? What can you not do with it? And then we're going to focus on you being able to acquire and locate targets using 3 main methods of target location. And then having located the targets with one of those methods, to compose and send a call for fire to whatever element is taking care of the fire direction, of the FDC for the purpose of this, and then to adjust fire should your location be off or should the artillery be off, and then to perform a very brief PDA and complete the mission. We will not delve into the depths of fire support planning and all the details of how you can utilize it in all possible mission types and situations, because that makes up for a whole course series of its own. The idea is really to equip you with the basic skills needed to perform in the FO slot, being able to accurately locate a target, to call for it efficiently, and then get the rounds on target. And ideally you have some basic understanding of the weapons capabilities so you can advise your fellow PL, because they usually don't know what to do with fire support. Any questions so far? So to briefly talk about fire support, in the very broad sense, fires, so using weapons to create specific effects on a target. And when it's fire support, it's usually a collective or coordinated effort to use indirect fire weapons, aircraft, ships, and other types of stuff to support a ground commander schema maneuver. And this is very important. So basically we're here to support an effort that's going on, to complement an effort that is supported. When we try to create these certain... So basically we're supporting, and then there's certain effects needed basically for us to achieve supporting that effort. So sometimes it's necessary for us to destroy a certain enemy target, an enemy force, to render it permanently combat ineffective because it's a major threat to that schema maneuver. Sometimes it's only necessary to suppress or temporarily harass an enemy force to achieve a certain desired effect. So are we trying to disrupt the enemy? Are we trying to limit or delay it? Or are we actually trying to attrit the enemy force? And a lot of time, there's lots of factors that you obviously need to weigh in. How much ammo do I have? Destroying a target usually takes a lot more ammo than just harassing it. What does my commander need? What does he want? What does he actually need? A lot of times, as I said, that will be greatly differing, because the commander in charge might not actually know what the artillery can do, and especially what it can do in the given situation. The factors of MTC: what is the mission? What is the enemy force doing? What is it composed of? How's the terrain looking? Etc.
Yeah, just to add to what Zoomwork was saying, that's kind of a thing that people miss a lot with as far as artillery and fire support in general, is like your goal might not necessarily always be, hey, I need to kill the enemy, I need to destroy him. Like, artillery and indirect fire especially is really effective at disrupting them, like it says there, basically just stopping them from doing what they're doing. So, like, for example, we played a TVT where we had to hunt caches, so our objective wasn't to kill the enemy, it was just to kill, like, destroy the caches. So when they tend to, gravitate towards the, common defensive areas, mountain peaks, like rocks, fortified areas, you can use artillery. It necessarily doesn't you don't have to drop 12 rounds at once. You can just drop 1 or 2 rounds every time they go up there, and you're disrupting their ability to, disrupt your mission. Just keep in mind what your mission is. It's not necessarily always just to inflict as many casualties as possible.
Absolutely. And obviously, this is just very brief. We can't dig into this into too much detail, but obviously, we're going to now focus on how do we actually get the fires on the target, giving a target of opportunity, or giving a planned target that your artillery is not hitting properly or that was wrongly located or whatever. And obviously, we're solely talking about artillery for today. No other like close air support or naval gunfire, if that's ever going to be a real thing in ArmA. So we talk about field artillery and mortars. So in ArmA, we used to have basically all of those in game and more or less high fidelity simulation, except for, I guess, field guns. And we're not going to go into this in too much detail either, but it's important to understand the limitations and capabilities of the primary weapon systems we're going to be dealing with. So when we talk about howitzers and gun howitzers, like the M109A6 you see here, which we have in game, or the M109, which we have in game as a simple vanilla thing, and we're going to soon get probably some more fidelity ace howitzers. We're talking about guns that have a medium or shorter barrel, that are either self-propelled or propelled, like not propelled, towed. I mean, like the 119 versus the 109 here. That fire medium shells, medium velocities at mid trajectories, so they're generally capable of firing high and low angle fire. So with that is meant the elevation of the barrel when firing. And this translates in both mid and short range capabilities if the terrain allows. Field guns, the very long barrel one, very large caliber, flat trajectory, like modern siege gun equivalent, I guess. Not really something you're probably ever going to see in ArmA. Mortars, however, very common. We have a bunch of those now. We have 81s. We have like a 60 mil modded version. Probably going to see some 120 mils to return. And obviously, the important difference here, a mortar only able to fire high angle, right? So cannot fire a flat trajectory. They're generally comparatively short range compared to larger howitzers, just due to them having a shorter barrel, smaller propelling charge, etc. And then we have rocket artillery, which is obviously completely different. We're not firing a shell, we have a rocket or a missile. They obviously have an enormous volume of fire. They have a high rate of fire usually. Unless they're missiles, they're going to be very inaccurate, but they're going to be able to hit an enormous area. I mean, you've maybe seen the BM-21 firing in game. It's pretty devastating. Typically not something players control in most missions because, yeah. So we have established basically the main weapon system. How do we bring it to use? Obviously, if we put a howitzer here and then we need to support an effort on the other side of the island, how are we going to effectively use it? And we do this by forming a field artillery team. So we have somebody that operates the gun, that does the actual firing job, that gets the gun late, puts the round in, does all the technical part of firing. Then ideally you have somebody that coordinates that, provides the technical fire direction, especially if it's multiple units, and gives the fire that are then translated into fire commands. And then you need somebody that actually locates the target, acquires, locates the target, calls for the fire, and then adjusts the fire if necessary, and assesses whether what you're trying to achieve has been achieved. And this is the role we're going to be talking about, the forward observer, the fister in the U.S. Army, or in like a Warsaw Pact, or like World War II Germans or whatever, the battery commander that sits on the front line and locates the target, observes the fires that he calls for, commands for, and then tries to adjust them and end them when they are no longer needed. Okay. So we have established the team. How do we effectively use it? So one important factor to be effective is to have a responsive team. So when a threat occurs or when something that is planned is called for, things need to be happening ideally as fast as possible, but without losing any detail, right? So making errors. So one thing to make the system as responsive as possible is to plan fire support requirements in advance, right? So what you can plan in advance saves you the time later when you have to put it into practice. That doesn't mean to make very complicated fire support plans. Ideally, your fire support plans are simple and planned in advance, and then they're going to be very responsive. Then streamlining the actual call for fire process. And with that, I mean the entire thing from you having located the target to the first round being fired, or basically the data reaching the FDC, who then calculates, because we're not going to worry about what FDC is going to say to the guns, right? That's their job, basically. So we want to streamline the call for fire process so that it's clear to the FDC what I mean, and vice versa, and that there's no miscommunications, and that the information is transferred as quickly as possible to get the rounds downrange. And of course, hand in hand goes with that to limit the radio transmissions on the net to only the time-sensitive and mission-essential traffic only, especially if you have kind of put things together with other elements due to the lack of radios, stuff like that. So we have our system, it's responsive, right? So when I call the things, they're going to go quickly up the chain to the gun's going to get firing quickly. How do we maximize the effect on the target that then comes into play? And here the most important thing is, when we're trying to shoot at opportunity targets, is accurate initial fires. What we're striving for is the so-called first round fire for effect. So the ability to locate the target and obviously have confidence or know that the artillery is going to fire at where you locate it. Then you're going to save yourself an adjustment phase. We'll talk about this later. But you're trying to basically say, I'm going to shoot the rounds that I want to achieve the effect immediately, and I'm assuming that I'm going to hit the target, because then the target's going to get hit surprised. They're not going to see adjust rounds walking onto them. They're not going to be able to take cover or move. If you have to adjust, then obviously the quicker and more accurate you can do it, the more effective you are. It's pretty self-explanatory. Another major factor is massing the fires. So you try to shoot... The massing fires is a principle that applies throughout all types of warfare. When you have 5 rounds that are hitting sequentially versus 5 rounds that hit at the same time, you're multiplying their effect. You're more effective. You need less rounds to achieve the same effect. And of course, choosing the proper fuse type and ammunition type, projectile type for your target is obviously essential to achieve the desired effect too. If you're shooting with the wrong round at the wrong target, then you're not going to achieve the maximum effectiveness. Okay, so far any questions? So one important thing we figured out is target location, right? So accurate initial...
Zoomark,
yeah?
your volume just turned down really quiet.
Yeah, your volume went a little bit quieter.
Probably acre
Okay.
volume.
There you go.
Yeah, you're good now.
Better?
Say again?
Sorry, I'm moving the microphone. Is it better now?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So far clear though, or did I get lost there in translation?
No, you're good. You're good.
Fantastic. So, target location. Location, just as in the real estate business. Locating yourself, locating the target is one of the most important things about this entire thing we're going to be talking about. So being able to locate yourself at least within 100 meters at any time is essential for you to know where you are, be able to quickly acquire and locate targets. Being able to terrain map associate, so to use prominent terrain features, target reference points to relate to potential target areas and grid locations on the map, to have a understanding of the terrain you're going to be in, you're expecting targets in. And then being able to associate the direction in which one is looking with a direction line on the map. This already are like meta skills that are going to help you to quickly understand the battle space, or the three-dimensional space that you are in, the target's in. And things that help with this obviously is already, as it mentions here, to have in your pre-planning phase make out prominent terrain features that you designate as target reference points that allow you to shift onto a target that is going to come around the area. So ensuring that planned targets and target reference points are always recognizable. So targets are not always have to be recognizable points. Oh, I did. That's weird. I mean, it's not really an issue, hopefully, unless the enemy shows up. Then it's kind of stupid, but it will still make.
I'm just not sure for self-location if
Yeah, we'll try to restart then after the lecture. So basically, ideally your targets, and especially your TRPs, always are a recognizable point on the ground. We'll talk about this in more detail later. So the three methods of locating the target that we're going to be talking about is the grid, shift from known point, and the polar plot. And these methods are directly those that you're going to be sending to the FDC. So you can send to the FDC a grid, you can send to him a shift from a known point, and you can send to him a polar plot. You can, of course, have other means of deriving location information, but these are the... So you can end up with a grid with a variety of methods, right? But the method of locating it for the FDC is going to be one of the three. There's a variety of terms that we're going to be using for this, so I'm going to introduce them now. The OT factor, the so-called observer target factor, is basically the distance between us, the observer, and the target expressed in thousands of meters to the nearest 100 meters. So a few examples. If the target is 2,500 meters away, your OT factor is 2.5. If your distance to the target is 510 meters, your OT factor is 0.5, or 0.51, very exact. Why do we do this? Because if you multiply this factor with the mils that you're measuring at that distance, you're going to be having translated it to meters. So in this example here, you see our impact is 20 mils right side of the target. The target is 2,000 meters away. So how much do we have to shift to the left? Anybody?
Bueller.
So we multiply our OT factor at 2,000. What's our OT factor at 2,000 meters?
2.0.
2.02, correct. And we measure 20 mils on our binoculars to the right. So we end up with 2 times 20, 40 meters. It's just an example. Then we have the so-called OT direction, or OT line. That is the line between us and the target. It's pretty self-explanatory. The other line that we have is the gun target line. So the imaginary line between the actual firing unit to the target. And these are typically not the same. So they sometimes will have an angle in between where you're actually perpendicular to the line from the gun to the target. So what you're perceive as basically arrow in left-right is going to come as arrow in range for the gun, right? So when we talk about these, I already started to mention these axis terms, but when we talk about these so-called, I call them shift axis. I don't think that's a proper term, but we describe the left and right, the lateral shift that you can see here on the A axis, right? That's to our left, that's to our right. Left left and left is pretty clear, I think. Then we have the range axis, the so-called add and drop axis. So add would be further away from us, drop would be closer to us on this B line, imaginary three-dimensional B line. And then you have the vertical axis, the altitude axis, I guess. The up is upwards and down is downwards. If you're not familiar with these terms, it's very handy to write this down or make a little sketch.
Biggest mistake people make is between add and drop and up and down. Keep in mind, add and drop is a range shift, up and down is a vertical or altitude shift. So if you want something to, for example, like an illumination round to activate at a higher altitude, you're shifting up. But if you want a round to go further along your range, so basically further away from you, you're going to add.
Yeah, I've had this before. People confuse this term. They call it emission, and he said up blah blah blah. I called, are you sure that you mean up? He said yes, and then he was wondering why the round was exploding 200 meters in the air. So, or actually, if you have an impact fuse, then it's going to just fly way above past the target, right? So it's important to understand these three axes and their meanings. Do you understand, especially what the OT line is, what our shift axes are, and what the OT factor is? No objections?
Just one other thing, keep in mind, so when you talk about the OT factor and using mils to estimate deviation, keep in mind deviation is left and right, so you can't use the same thing for range, for example. It doesn't apply to range, because obviously, as objects get further away, they appear smaller, so this is strictly just for left and right.
Absolutely. You can do up and down with it to a degree, but not going to be used very often. Yeah, this is strictly about, obviously, you can't measure the range using them, because the range is like along the OT line that you're measuring the angle to, so that wouldn't
There's
work.
a way you can estimate it with mils, but it's not related to
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. We're going to be learning a technique, though, that allows you to bracket into the target without measuring any range, basically. Yep.
Could you go over the OT factor one more time?
All right, so the OT factor is the distance between the observer and the target in thousands of meters. That's the OT factor, and this is the number we can multiply with mils, and then we get at that given range meters.
Okay.
So if you look through your binocular, in this example here, 2 kilometers to the target, you determined that somehow, or you estimate it, and you measure 4 big vertical tick marks in the reticle of the standard binocular, then that's going to be 40 meters at that distance. I mean, yeah, 4 big tick marks.
Essentially, so 1 mil of difference at 1,000 meters is
It's
equivalent to 1 meter. So just imagine, obviously mils is a measure of angle. Imagine the lines on your compass. If they're drawn out all the way 1,000 meters from your current location, those 2 lines would now be 1 meter apart.
This is not 100% accurate. Like the NATO mils is actually like 10 meters off at 1 kilometer from the actual geometrical mil, but for purposes of fire support, it's close enough. And I mean, if you use the Russian mils, they use 6,000. That's like 45 meters off already at like a kilometer. So.
Okay.
It'll get you in the neighborhood, though.
Alrighty. So let's dig into the first method of target location, grid. You probably have heard of that. Most will. I don't know how good is the map to read the screen readable for you guys, because it's very bright for me.
It's quite okay, actually.
Okay, then I have to change my settings. Whatever. I have my little screen. So we locate this is the so-called standard method of target location. If you don't specify another one, the FTC is going to expect a grid. How do you get that grid? There's obviously a great variety of ways how you can locate something on the map. You've all attended the LandNav, or at least hopefully have revisited the most important topics. But let's take this example where we have this arbitrary enemy unit at that T intersection. We see it, we know it's at that T intersection. Then we can quickly derive the grid by just reading on the map the location of the T intersection, right? So I just use terrain association, and then I use my map tool. Right, I don't even need the map tool here if I just take the center and grid, right? It's close enough. If I fire lots of rounds. Then, of course, I can actually plot it on the map. This is going to be time consuming, though. Of course, if you have precision navigation equipment, if you have a vector and a dagger, then you're just going to laze the target and get the 8 or 10 digit grid. And this, of course, ideal, because it's going to be a super accurate target location. Whatever you use, you're going to try to locate the target within at least 100 meters. So at least we want to have a 6-digit grid, ideally an 8-digit grid. Always try to send target altitude. It's not required, but it's highly going to increase the accuracy, especially for low-angle fire. You have to imagine when the howitzers fire low angle, the round is going to impact at a relatively flat trajectory. So a few meters in altitude arrow are going to be meaning it's going to fly over or impact short of it. So, did we already make up like a call for fight? No, I think that's just explaining the methods. Then we have shift from known point. This is where it gets more complicated. So we have a known point, and this could be a target reference point that you assigned earlier because it's a good terrain feature, like a church here, or the road intersection in the other example. Or you have a target that you already fired at, which you can see on you can easily identify because it's a destroyed tank, or it's a destroyed bunker, or you still know where it is. Then you can obviously shift of that if the FTC knows the location of that target, if the target is located and recorded. Then we're going to try to basically determine the shift from that known point. And we do this using the axis that we earlier talked about. So first we need to define find our OT line. So we measure our OT line, we take out our compass and measure the direction to the target in mils. And as long as it's within 10 mils, I mean, you round it to 10 mils because the exact direction will usually not matter too much. Then we determine the lateral shift, so the left and right shift. Then we determine the range shift from that point, and then we determine the vertical shift. So in this example here, we have our target reference point, Alpha Bravo 1001, at this little Y intersection. And we have our target somewhere in the field to the right. So deriving the grid, it's going to be rather hard. Obviously, we have the symbol here. But we can very quickly acquire it for the FTC using the shift from known point, right? So I take out my binoculars. I know the TRP is so and so many meters away in this example here, roughly 700 meters. So what would my OT factor be? 0.7, correct. So I'd have to calculate that now in the other way around, but basically you multiply whatever mils you see there in the binocular, and we assume it comes up with 150. And then you just say right 150, and you have your shift established from that TRP, and you have located the target. If there's, of course, a shift in range, so if it's further down the OT line, so you need to add or drop in reference to the TRP, right? If it's significantly above or below the TRP in terms of elevation, in terms of altitude, then you also need to specify that. Basically, you don't want to do shifts that are more like 600 mils, which is already quite a significant angle, right? It would be very hard to actually use your binocular beyond that or anything. This method is beautiful because you basically don't need any tools whatsoever to do it. Having a compass helps, but as long as you know the cardinal directions and know what the registered targets and reference points, you're good to go. And it is one of the quickest ones if everything is in place, right? So if the TRP is in place, the tank pulls up, you just say, oh, that's about 50 meters to the right. There you go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, just a quick question. What does TRP and TGP stand for?
The target reference point. I'll define those in a minute. And target. For the purpose of right now, just consider them one. So.
Okay.
Maybe that's actually better to have that before. That's kind of true. So assuming everybody understood the principle of the method here, let's go to the next one, the polar plot. This basically means we use the polar coordinates that you all learned in LandNav in order to locate the target in reference to our position. So we determine the direction and we determine the distance or the shift basically from our position. And since we determine the direction, we don't need to do left or right. We just say how far is it, so distance, right? So we say from our known OP, it's at this direction, this far away. So obviously, in order for that to work, the FTC needs to know where you are. What's your observation post location? What is your location? So you transmit that first, and you got to make sure that no matter how far you strive off the procedures, that it's clear that the OP location is not the target, right? Because that's going to end badly. That's why you clearly communicate this. Your call sign FTC, stand by to copy, grid of our current position or the OP location. Then you transmit that, and then you start the call for fire. Don't throw it into the call for fire. That's mishap about to happen. Then we determine the OT direction, right? So we measure the azimuth to the target. Again, we can round it to tens of mils. Of course, here the more accurate the better. Then we determine the range to target. We can do this by measuring it if we have a laser rangefinder, for example, or we estimate it. And here we're going to be later getting a technique that helps us to then locate or get the range through artillery fires, basically. And then we also estimate the vertical shift. So is the target below us, above us, and only if that's obviously a significant amount. So everybody understood the basic principles behind the three methods.
Yep.
So now I'm going to go into the depth of that earlier question. So when I talk about targets and target reference points, what are there? So targets are any pre-planned or opportunity targets for fire support, right? So a target can be a pre-planned thing, but it is also the tank that drives up that you then call up fires onto, or the infantry platoon or whatever. And as soon as a target is recorded, so infantry platoon shows up, or let's say a UAZ shows up, it's a more nicer point target, you call fires onto it, the rounds land on the UAZ, you end the mission, and then you say, record that target for me with a target number, and then you can use this as your new point to shift from. It's an easy position to shift from. Targets are, unless otherwise specified, they're point targets, and in real life at least, you draw them with this like cross. It's the center of the cross is the point. But you can have also define targets more complicated. So you can use a rectangular a linear target, so it's a line where the center point is defined, and then the length along that center point along a given attitude. So we have grit, length, and attitude. Then you can have a rectangular target, so rectangle, which is again defined by its center point, length, width, and attitude. And then you can also have a circle, of course, which is defined by a radius. When is this necessary? So either when and this applies obviously for both planned, as it says above, pre-planned, and opportunity targets. So you can have, you attack with your platoon and you encounter an enemy trench line that's significantly long. Then obviously here you would describe this trench line as a target, as a linear target. You determine the length of the trench, the center of the trench, and the attitude of the trench. And of course, if you're planning targets, you're going to use a lot of linear targets. You can put your smoke screen, define it with a linear target, or that suppression of that tree line where you expect the enemy, that you're going to put a linear target on that, not just a point target. Because then the artillery is going to adjust its sheaf to the size of the target and distribute the rounds onto that described target. And if you use these defining parameters here, it's going to be relatively easy for the FDC to get that gun data down. So he has the center, the attitude, and the length, and he just shifts his battery or the individual gun up and down that linear target. What's a target reference point, a TRP? So as the name suggests, it's a point to reference from. So it's an easily recognizable point on the ground, either a natural or man-made terrain feature. It can even be something that you construct yourself, like you place a signal panel or some kind of object that you can see from afar, and you have your TRP if you have that exactly located. And they are the thing that is handy to shift from, right? So when we do the shift from known point method of target location, those are things that are going to become in very handy. It allows us to quickly locate and adjust fires onto targets of opportunity using that method. And you typically want to place them, obviously, where you expect the enemy. But again, they're not targets. Don't put them into an open field, because you're not going to be effectively referencing off that. You need something that you can see that is somewhere in the likely enemy avenue of approach or enemy defensive sector, right? Or defensive position. And of course, you can use any target to shift from. So any TRP is a target, but not all targets are good reference points, right? If that makes any sense.
Yeah, this is like something I see like the biggest mistake like FOs make is they'll put like they'll put like a copse of trees in the middle of the field as like a TRP. Like when you actually get into game, you're never going to be able to identify that. Having a TRP, like, a mountaintop of building, this also really helps you get an extra set of eyes. So like if you got a squad leader who's in contact, and he's like saying, hey, I've got enemies 300 meters east of this, radio tower. then that gives you an extra set of eyes, and it'll help you, adjust fire, even if sometimes if you can't directly see it.
Yeah, and TRPs are something that are not only for fire support, for indirect fire support, but I use them as a commander all the time to orient my weapon systems, my squads, so that I can shift direct and indirect fires effectively. Of course, you want to have a more defined way to refer to them than like an indirect, where you can say I mean, sometimes if you have a defined crops, like you have a single prominent tree in the center of the field, then you can use that as a TRP, right? But you can't call up the FTC and say shoot at the green tree. He doesn't know what you're talking about, right? So we need to define those reference points by either in the pre-planning process you mark them on the map, you give them a target number, or ideally a target number. The NATO target number scheme that you see here is always 2 letters and then digits, and the letters are actually defined by the country that issues the target. You want to make sure that the FTC understands what are targets and what are TRPs, right? If I'm an FTC and you give me TRPs, and the people that don't understand it, they think everything's a TRP. They give me a TRP, I just write down the grid and altitude of the TRP. That's all I'm going to write down, because you're going to shift off of that. That's what I expect. If you want me to be ready to engage that with a certain amount of ammunition, with a certain type of ammunition, you need to tell me that, and then you can even specify things like certain criteria. Shoot at this between 0501 and 0505, or just on my call be ready to fire this, right? So if it's like a final protective fire that's going to cover your withdrawal, or if it's the smoke screen you need up at a certain point in time. Does that make any sense whatsoever?
Oh.
Awesome. We've been here we've only here for 40 minutes. Okay, so now we're going to dig into the actual flash. So we've understood the methods of target location. How do we transmit this? And we do this through the call for fire. This is the request for fire we basically give to the fire direction element, the FDC, for our purpose. And ideally, this is a concise and standardized message so that everything is clear and is very quickly given through and results in the rounds getting fired, right? So this is the system responsiveness I talked about. And this is the initial phase in this entire call for fire process, right? Where you call for fire, you adjust for fires, and you complete the mission. That's the entire fire mission, then that's a fire mission. So the elements of the standard call for fire are 6 elements sent in 3 transmissions. In the first transmission, we send our call sign, our identification, and we send a warning order. The warning order is going to warn the FTC this is a new call for fire coming in, and what is the method of target location, or is it another type of special mission. Then I have a dedicated transmission for the location of the target, the most important part, I guess. And then we have the third part where all the ancillary and more detailed information is in. So the description of the target, how do I want it to be engaged, how is the method of fire, and how am I controlling it? Are you just going to fire it when ready, or do I want it at a specific time, or on my command, at my command? And then once this is done, the FTC is going to get that data, aggregate it, make necessary changes to them, and then send you, if there are changes, the changes in the MTA, in the message to observer, or if there are no changes, it just advises you that the mission is treated as this, gives it a target number, then they fire it. Then if the rounds are on target, if not on target, they're going to get adjusted. If they're on target, and the effect is achieved, you complete the mission, and that's the entire process. So let's dig into the first transmission. This is the most simple one, I guess. I call, as the observer in this example, I'm Steel Rain. I'm Argus, and I call up Steel Rain, my FTC. I say, Steel Rain, this is Argus, right? So he knows this is, if you have multiple observers, and it's also clear which observer is this, and it's the normal radio protocol as you hopefully know it. Then we have the warning order. For the purpose of this, we're going to focus on adjust fire and fire for effect for the type of mission. So adjust fire means we are not able to achieve first round fire for effect because either our target location is likely not going to be 100% accurate, or the artillery is firing the first mission and you're not sure they're going to hit they know what they're doing basically, or there could be an error source, I guess. Then, if that's not the case, you have the ideal thing, fire for effect. So you know the target's located, We want to get the rounds in mass immediately onto the target. So then you say, Steel Rain, this is Argus, adjust fire. Or Steel Rain, this is Argus, fire for effect. Over. If I don't specify a method of target location, he's expecting me to send a grid, right? If I specify polar, he's going to expect the polar plot. If I specify shift, followed by the point I'm going to shift from, he's going to expect a shift from known point method of target location. So, adjust fire, shift Alpha Charlie, 3001, over. This means I want adjusting a fire before the fire for effect phase, and we're going to shift off Alpha Charlie 5001, I think it is. In the thing. Then there's other types of missions like immediate suppression, immediate smoke. Immediate suppression or immediate smoke is going to be omitting the other parts of the transmission and is immediately fire for effect as immediate as possible, right? So if you call immediate suppression Alpha Bravo 5001, they're just going to end everything else they're doing and they're going to lay under that target and fire as soon as they can. In reality, you actually have some specified SOPs of how many rounds and so on, but for the purpose of our typical missions, they're just going to fire at it, and then ideally you're just going to call ceasefire once it's no longer needed. Any questions on the first transmission? I'm going to dig right head into the second transmission, so the target location. This is, of course, dependent on the method we earlier chose. So in using the standard grid method, we're going to transmit grid, then the grid, and then if we have it, the altitude. So grid 12457601, altitude 200, over. And of course, ideally don't talk too fast or too slow either. Try to use the proper procedures for pronouncing numbers, and then things are clear, because this is the most critical information. If there's a number switch in there, the rounds are going to land somewhere completely different. Then we have shift from known point. Here we need to define the things we derived from the reference point. So what is our OT direction? And then we say that direction 5210. Then we transmit the shift left 380 and add 400 down. The screen doesn't go as far as that. Down something something, over. So here in the entire transmission, the OT direction, the lateral shift, the range shift, and the vertical shift, and then the normal over forward. Then if we do a polar plot, we transmit again direction, but we say distance and then the vertical shift. So in this case here, direction 4520, distance 2300, down 70, over. Are those things clear so far? Perfect. Let's get into the third transmission. So here we described the first part of the third transmission, I should say. Here we describe the target in enough detail that the FTC knows what we're firing at. And then if I, for example, don't specify it, he can choose the type of ammunition to use, or if I choose something completely retarded, he can override it, or if he doesn't have the ammunition, then he'll also obviously override it. If you don't know what you want to be firing with, or you don't know what the FTC has, just leave it unspecified. If the guy halfway knows what he's doing, he's going to hopefully choose the right ammunition type. Try to describe the target using those 5 aspects. Size, what are we talking about? Squad, platoon, company, 3 vehicles, 10 vehicles, 1. Nature, what is it? Troop, tanks, IFVs, BMP, etc. What are they doing? Are they like moving? This is not so important, but especially what protection results from this. So are they in trenches, or are they in buildings? Those type of things. Are they in the open? And how are they shaped? So if it's just a point target that goes within like 50 meters or less, or is within 100 meters, I guess, then you're just going to give it a point target. And if it's otherwise, you're going to use one of those target shapes we talked about earlier. So linear, rectangular, or circular. So this can sound something like this. Infantry company in the open. Combat OP in the open. Infantry platoon and trench line. Length. I have to look here. 200. Attitude 2600. And when you describe the attitude, you always take the smaller middle number off the attitude line. So if that makes any sense. Then Similar for rectangular targets. You're rarely gonna be able to use those because we typically don't have a battalion to fire at that square kilometer, right? So, a lot of times you're gonna be just giving point targets. Method of engagement. This is the next part where we describe basically how we want the target to be engaged. Most importantly here, we're gonna the type of adjustment, don't even have to worry about it. We're normally going to be firing area fire, and nobody will know how to do a destruction mission anyway, so the difference is not important here. More important, if necessary, specify high angle. So if you know the terrain is going to interfere with low angle mission, or it's inside of a town, right, where the rounds need to be impacting nearly vertical, otherwise they're going to hit the buildings in front, you call high angle. If in doubt, call high angle. And if you have mortars, you don't need to say it because they're only going to fire high angle anyway. Then ammunition. What type of projectile do we want? High explosives, white phosphorus, ICM, GPS guided XCal round. What fuse do we want? Impact fuse, delayed fuse, proximity fuse, or other types of fuses. How many rounds do we want? And when you specify rounds, that's normally for the entire firing unit. So if there's a platoon of howitzers, they're all going to fire 4 rounds, so it means we're talking about 12 rounds hitting the target. Distribution. So you could specify this, usually they're going to be firing converged cheap, especially if the people don't know what they're doing. They're going to be firing converged onto 1 point, even if they have 1 gun. So keep that in mind. Danger close. This is just to alert the attention of the firing unit that the friendly elements are within 600 meters of that located target. You're the one responsible that makes sure you're not hitting friendlies with your target location, right? So there's certain techniques that you can use. We'll talk about those later. And then mark, if you're actually using, for example, a smoke round to mark a target for air support or something like that. Any comments so far, Pi? Did I?
No, it looks good. I'd say don't. So like things like especially number of rounds, the fuse, kind of the angle usually. That's typically all left to the FDC. Don't try to, overload yourself with all this information. Offload some of that onto your FDC because that's all he's worrying about. So like ammunition management, that's his job. Like don't try to keep a running count of how many ammo, how much ammo the guns have. Let the FDC take care of that. They'll give you basically how many rounds they can.
Yeah, only specify things if you know why you're doing it and what it's doing, and if it's necessary, right? Because the quicker you get that call for fire out, the quicker the rounds are going to be inbound, whether they're 3 or 4, for example, right? And the FTC has usually the overview over the ammo count, as he said. Especially if there's multiple FOs, there's no way for you to know. Last but not least, method of fire and control. This is basically how the attacking is to be done and controlled. The method of fire, basically, you don't have to worry about that. That's very specific when we're talking about adjusting final protective fires and stuff like that. Method of control, more important. When you don't say anything, specify anything here, then it's fire when ready. So the guns will fire when they're ready to fire as a firing unit normally. Then restrict it when ready. So you could say restricted when ready no later than 10 minutes from now, so you make sure that there's no rounds going to be fired after that. So even if you lose radio contact, your platoon can move after 12 minutes or whatever, right? So when the last round would have impacted. At my command, so specifically then the guns are going to be waiting for you to say fire on the net, and then they're going to fire. This is important if you need to time, if you want to hit a moving target. If you're firing special rounds like a laser-guided copperhead that needs you to lace the target, stuff like that. Time on target, obviously you can just say time on target at 0510 or in 5 minutes from now. If you want continuous illume, then you just say that. And there's some special combination of that with HE. And then continuous fire is obviously just continue to fire. It's a very rather unusual thing. You're going to just spend a lot of ammo without probably lots of effect. So this could sound like at my command, right? And then the FTC is going to call this fire mission is ready, and then you say fire when you want the rounds to be fired. Does this make any sense?
Yeah. I had a question to the one we had previous.
Go ahead.
Is this the one we have? No.
I don't. No, sorry.
Like in the type there, when you have ammunition fuse, I'm not entirely sure what is the purpose of me as an observer to transmit what type of fusing I want the FTC to operate on the ammunition.
We haven't talked about this yet. There's various fuse types for artillery rounds. So, for example, the standard one, if you don't say anything, and if the FTC doesn't specify anything changing from that standard, it's going to be point detonate or impact quick fuse, impact fuse. So the round is going to explode when it hits something rather sturdy. This is the normal round, but sometimes you want to have the round explode later or earlier because the enemy is in trenches or is inside of a bunker or buildings. If the enemy is in the building, you want to use delay fuse, so the round can actually blow through the roof and then explode inside the bunker or building, or through the tree. Like thicker tree cover can already like have the HE rounds, the impact rounds explode on the top of the tree and lose their effect. You sometimes want to have airburst, right? If the units are in trenches, so that the rounds explode above the trench and actually hit more people in the trenches. If you don't specify this and just specify the target description properly, the FTC is gonna hopefully choose the right fuse.
Okay, thank you.
Okie dokie. I've talked a lot, and we're almost finished. This we already had. So all of this makes the initial call for fire, and then the FTC is going to get back to you, and he's going to tell you, I'm going to fire with that and that many guns. I made these and these changes to what you requested, and this also means if something that you didn't specify that was standard is deviated from. So, for example, you didn't specify any round type, but he's using ICM. He chose ICM because it's like light armored vehicles you're firing at or something, or it's just better suited, or he has a lot of ICM he wants to get out, and he's going to say that. And then he's going to say how many rounds, and he's going to give it a target number so that you have a common way to reference to that target, and once it's recorded, you can use it as a TRP or call it again, stuff like that. Then he's going to give you additional information like probable error and range if he has that, angle T, it's the angle we talked about earlier, it's not so important, but time of flight, so that you know how long is the round going to be traveling. So this could sound like, in reality, it would be like the last letters of the firing unit and stuff like that. But I always just say, I'm going to fire with 4 guns. Because a lot of times, the units are not fully ready, right? I mean, the mission, I have gyps that are manning the guns or people dropping out. So I'll tell you, I'm going to fire with 4 guns, 3 rounds each on Alpha. And the target number is going to be Alpha Bar 1201. Time of flight, blah, blah, blah. And then you know, okay, I'm going to see 12 rounds impact. And once he says shot, it's going to be 25 seconds. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okie dokie. So now we have the rounds impacting. This is where it gets complicated again. There are various ways for you to adjust the rounds. So assuming that the rounds are not hitting the target. If you're good and you have experience, then you can do 1 round adjustments. So you see the round impacts left so and so many meters, you measure this and it impacts short and you estimate that and that. Or if you have precision equipment, so if you have a Vector 21, for example, then you can totally just do a 1 round adjustment because the Vector can actually shit out the left and right, the add and drop and up down shift by just lasing the impact and lasing the target. So if you have that, 1 round adjustment. If you don't, and you just have a compass and binocular and not even sure what the exact range is on your target, so you're calling a polar mission and you just estimated the range, then you're going to use successive bracketing. You establish a bracket and then half it every round until you reach a 50-meter bracket, and then you can say with mathematical certainty that the round is going to be within 50 meter and call fire for effect. If you don't have the time, you can do a little hasty bracketing and just do a shorter bracket and combine it kind of with 1 round adjustment. If you do in danger close, and it's really danger close, then you want to do creeping fire. So you actually locate the target intentionally off the target, and then walk the rounds from the far side onto the target so that you're not going to hit friendly units. Do those rough concepts make sense? We're going to talk about bracketing now in detail. Okie dokie. So bracketing, let's say we do a polar mission, right? So I established, you can imagine the observer being so like where the dot from, or where target in the last paragraph is written, right? I'm there, the observer. I locate that black something target, and I don't know the exact range. So I estimate it's 800 meters away. Then you see the first round impact short. But I can say, okay, it's going to be at least within 400 meters of the target in terms of range, right? We're just talking about range now. We assume that it actually lands on the OT line in this case, right? So it's on the OT line, it's just an arrow in range. But I have no rangefinder, I need to figure out how to get the rounds on target. So I add 400 meters. The round overshoots the target. So now I know within those 400 meters is my target. So I'm going to split this 400 meters into half. And I'm going to drop 200 again. And then if the round impacts short of the target, I know the target's got to be within those 200 meters. If it didn't impact short of the target, I'd drop another 100 meters. And then I'd know if it drops short, it's going to be within those. If it, in this case, it drops short, so I know it's within those 200 meters, I'm going to add 100 again. And now I know it's within those 100 meters. And then I drop 50 and say directly fire for effect, because I know if I cut 100 meters into half, it's got to be within 50 meters. Did that make any sense?
Yeah, that made perfect sense.
Awesome. Then, obviously, this assumes the rounds, then you call for fire for effect. If it was just a one-round adjustment, you would do the left and right and add drop, ideally to get it right on the target, so you wouldn't intentionally do these brackets, right? And then when we do creeping fire, we'd ideally start like at the far impact, right? And then kind of drop it until walk it using the drop onto the target. At some point, we finally achieved what we wanted, or it's no longer possible because the enemy has moved, or somebody else destroyed it, etc. Or you need to call the mission because the platoon attacks. If it's urgent, you're going to call cease loading, or if it's super urgent, like the rounds are actually hitting the wrong position, they're hitting friendlies, you're going to issue cease fire. Cease loading means they're going to fire the rounds they still have in the barrel. They don't have to, in reality, they would have to like do some serious work to get the rounds out of the barrel again. Pi can probably tell you stories.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
And for mortars, of course, there's no real loading time if they're firing on release. But basically, you're going to say cease loading, and or if the you said fire for effect, the rounds that were specified are fired, then you're just going to say end of mission, target destroyed, record as target, or end of mission, RPG silenced, end of mission. What else? So you can obviously specify, for example, here there's some examples where you actually give a refinement without firing and adjust. So you just say write 20, add 20, end of mission, RPG silenced, and then he's going to record that final refinement as the actual target location. This is, if you don't say, I mean, the difference here, but I'm always going to record it in any case. In reality, this is just in terms of record keeping. But important here is that the mission is ended. I, as FTC, can basically cross it off my paper here and have room for newer missions. Okie dokie. That is basically the call for fire process. So we've now talked about everything from how to locate the target, how to call for fire, how to adjust the rounds, and how to end the mission. So now we're going to do this in practice. Do we need a bio break?
Yep.
I would say we...
You have 30 seconds, Overlord.
No,
Pee in a cup.
We have exactly 2200 local here. I would say that's 2000 Zulu, so I'd say 2005. So 2005. I'm a little confused today, I'm sorry.
So 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Alright, I'll be right back.
I bet I do have this. Oh wow.
Only I can access the mighty instructor desk.
Yeah, I'm teleporting us to the lakey lake.
You're
Lakey
gonna do
Lake.
you're gonna do the Salt Lake.
Yeah, we're gonna start there. I'm gonna do the exemplary.
Just going
thing.
straight to the hard stuff.
Ah, Lake.
Let's find a good vista. I'm gonna spawn a good target for us.
Are you gonna be using the vector?
No, I'm gonna initially just do it old school. Let me put up some shit.
Good. Salt flat, 0 reference points.
Yeah.
That's
The
so I
masochist.
said he was going straight to the hard stuff.
It's gonna be perfect. Oh, look at that. Sneaky.
That's a Russian humanitarian convoy right there. It's a legit target.
Snow weapons inside. Wait, I can make it more legitimate when
Yeah,
Russian
platoon of
humanitarian.
T-80s that'll really be a Russian humanitarian convoy.
God, I shouldn't have done this. This has a
Oh.
sound bug.
Great. Radars everywhere.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Oh, we don't hear anything.
It doesn't affect us, just you.
Oh, okay, it's gone again. Okay, then never mind.
Oh, there we go. That's
That's
legit.
good enough.
Some shulkers.
Maybe. Where's the thing?
Anyone got the issue that they cannot open their map tool interaction on the map?
They'll be down the bottom left corner.
Yeah. Try that.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you people have? Binoculars?
Yeah.
Let me try. Give me. Oh, for some reason I have a vector.
Binos and map tools.
Yeah, they just have regular binos.
Okay. Let's see.
Did you want me to just add vectors straight to everybody?
No, I just did it. No, I want binoculars first. So does anybody know where we are?
We're gonna be somewhere around that 10 altitude marker inside of. Oh, where
Yeah,
am I
we're
looking?
actually at the
Yeah, around there.
13 one.
Oh, okay.
If I'm not talking bullshit, yeah. So let's put this down. Can we get an exact location? I mean,
With the peak, it's just there.
okay, I'm just gonna do it myself. Everybody still knows how to get a grid, right?
Yes.
Hopefully. I put my
Ask
map
your
tools
platoon
down.
commander.
I put my map tools down. I locate us at 2466 and 187 7. And our altitude is obviously 13, right? Pi, we're gonna lose long range channel 1, right?
Roger.
But he's gonna be around us here. He's gonna be acting as the FDC for now. My call sign is just gonna be Argus, and Pi is gonna be Steel Rain. Steel Rain, this is Argus. Radio check, over.
Argus, this is Steel Rain, Heavy Lima Charlie, over.
Argus, to transmit OP location, over.
Argus, Steel Rain, standing by for pause rep, over.
Argus, my current pause. 2466 1877, altitude 13, over.
Argus, this is Steel Rain, I copy 2466 1877, altitude 13, over.
Argus, all correct out. All right, so now I've established my OP, and suddenly this weird column of trucks comes up, right? What would be our preferred method of target location?
Considering we have...
Go up to shout, please.
Okay, we've got fuck all for reference points. So probably shift off ROP or just polar.
Correct. So what do we need to determine for a polar?
Our
Direction and
location
distance.
and OT line, distance to target.
Very good. So what is your OT direction to the center of this bullshit?
Approximately 5100 mils.
Good enough. So direction 5100. What else do we need?
Range to target.
Correct. So we don't have a very accurate way to measure range here. We can use our binocular here. I'm going to measure from tire to tire on the UAZ. I got around 2.5. I estimate the wheels are going to be like 1.8 meters apart. What is the distance?
I think this would be an ideal time to go over the formula there for the...
Okay,
Yeah,
we
I agree
didn't.
with that.
I kind of took this for granted since everybody revised the middle relation formula. But again, so we have middle relation formula. The object size in meters times 1,000 divided by the mils we measure. So 1.8 times 1,000 divided by 2.5 for me would be 720 meters. So this is only rough, right? It's not going to be exact, but this is going to be my initial point, and then I'm going to do successive bracketing. And then we have the altitude here is marginal, right? We're only like 13 meters high. The Salt Lake is above sea level, so it's only going to be like 10 meters or less. So, distance 720 meters, right? Does everybody have the reference sheet?
No.
I'll post a link to the yeah,
That's what I
because we had
said.
some joins.
Right. I also said in the thread. So for those that already have it ready, the page 22 of format 3, we're going to be doing. I know, wrong. Page 21, adjust fire mission polar plot format 2. So this is going to be basically how you can follow what I'm doing now. Let me know when you're ready, Pi, once you posted the link.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'll go get it.
Right, Steel Rain, this is Argus, adjust fire polar, over.
Sorry, I'm getting that link real quick to post some things.
Okay, then let me. I thought you said yes. Okay. Does anybody have questions so far? What we did? Good. So basically, as a rule of thumb, I think it says it here on the sheet too. No, it doesn't. But I think on one of them it says so. I would always give the altitude, if the altitude difference we're talking about, no matter what method of target location, is more than 15-20 meters, I would always give it. 10 meters is like neglectable, even for low angle for this. But generally, the more accurate your data, the better. Because you always have to keep in mind, the arrow you're going to make with a target location can multiply with the arrow the gun crew makes, and with the other factors that are going to make it less accurate, right?
Alright, links in the bottom, TeamSpeak. Just scroll down to page 21, and that's the transmission example that we're using.
I'm going to give it 10 more seconds, and then unless somebody objects, I'm going to start doing it, and you can follow this. Let me know when you're ready, Pi.
You just have to listen, so I mean, if you want to alt tab and look at it, feel free to. Alright, I'm ready whenever you are.
Right, Steel Rain, this is Argus, adjust fire polar, over.
Argus, this is Steel Rain. Just fire polar out.
Direction 5100, distance 720 meters, over.
Direction 5100. Distance 720 out.
Vehicle pool in the open, over.
Copy. Enemy vehicles in the open. Out.
So, did everybody follow the scheme, hopefully? So what did I do? I specified in the warning order, adjust fire polar. Then I gave the target location, the direction, and the distance. And then I described the target. I didn't give any further instructions. So he's going to choose the ammunition if he wants to change it from HE. And he's going to tell me, how many rounds. And it's going to be an adjust mission, so that means the initial rounds are all going to be individual rounds until I say fire for effect. Then he fires that number of rounds he says to me in the MTO. So now we're waiting for the MTO, the message to observer.
Message to observer. Steel rain. 3 rounds. ICM in effect. Target number Alpha Bravo 1001. Out. Over.
Steel rain, 3 rounds. ICM. Target number Alpha Bravo 1001. Out. So now I know he's gonna fire the entire platoon 3 rounds. So 3 times 3 is 9. They're gonna be ICM. So they're gonna be the little improved conventional commission, so the sub munitions that's gonna drop out of the round. But for the adjust part, it's gonna be HE nevertheless, and the target number is Alpha Bravo 1001. So I write that down, and then I wait until he calls shot, basically. Since it's low angle, he's not required, but at least the US standard is he doesn't give me time of flight unless I request it, so because it's going to be within like 10-20 seconds, so there's no real point for me to like go into cover and go up again unless it's really necessary. So I just keep stand ready basically until he says shot.
Shot. Alpha Bravo 1001. Over.
Alpha Bravo 1001, shot out.
I think it ended up doing it at high angle, so there should be about 45 seconds. I don't know why, but...
Did you select low angle? That's the lowest solution you did?
I guess.
Weird. Well, did you fire ICM? Hopefully not.
No, I just fired HE.
Okay.
Because I wasn't paying attention at the time. I could have called, splash, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm still working on the status messages. How did you know the shot was even happening?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hit fire, but...
Okay. It's the latest time that clock, so clock's going to change twice in that thing. It's kind of dumb, I know. But I think it was just the last battery status thing that we got, so it's going to be another... There we go. Alrighty, so here we have significantly to the right. That's basically... I'm spotting...
10 mils.
I'm spotting basically the extent of my horizontal binocular plus another 10 mils. So that would be how many mils?
110.
What? The 50 plus 50 is in what?
100.
110. 110.
Correct. So at the estimated distance of 700 meters, what would that be? Left shift. 77 meters, so I'm going to say left 80. Alpha Bravo 1001, left 80, over.
Left 80. Out.
So what's going to happen now is he already knows my OT direction, right? Because that's in the polar mission, that's the direction. If it wasn't a polar mission, I'd have to specify this, and now he shifts the 80 meters on my OT direction to the left. So for those that have used the M109 before, he's going to put minus 80 into the left-right field, right? that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So, it's probably, I don't even know where the arrow came from.
Shot over.
Shot out.
Sorry, I accidentally almost did a negative 80 on the range. Had to fix that real quick. It should be 25 seconds now, so I don't know what changed, but hopefully it should come a little bit quicker here.
It's weird, when I tested this, I was able to fire like 20 seconds missions. I don't know why this is different now.
I'm curious why it was so far off, too. As far as deviation, I mean, we're kind of perpendicular to the gun line, but...
Now it's shot, I think. Oh, there we go. We're still too far right, so there's something going on with the gun line.
Yeah, it shifted closer to us rather than.
Yeah, are you sure you're putting it in the right
laterally.
Lateral field, Pi?
Yeah, I got left 80 and still range is still at 720. Let me try another.
Well, give it another left 80 then. It's always the testing. Tests, it worked perfectly. I mean, we did the exact same. Whatever.
Alright, do you want to call it?
Just go left 80, over.
Left 80 out.
So I'm always shifting from the last impact, right? That's just the added shift. So obviously here the arrow's not with us, it's with a gun line because it was basically still on this almost the same deviation to the right for me. It was a little closer to us.
Yeah, it's like a
Shot
shifting
over.
laterally.
Shot out.
It's like a shifting laterally in relation to the gun's line of sight as opposed to ours.
Strange. Never seen that. Oh, the last time I think when we tested it, we were south of the, or we were north of the Salt
We
Lake.
were at the exact position. We did the exact same thing with the Humvees and the bunkers. That's why I don't understand.
We were on the other side of the lake, though.
No, we were at the exact same pause.
Alright.
Yep, I'm 100% sure. I love this shit. It's like when...
Oh,
There
wait,
we go.
what?
So, now I think the range looks good, but we still want to get it onto our observer target line before we start doing the bracketing. So, I measure here from the center roughly 50 mils, right? So I'm going to give it another right 50 or 50. Right 50, over.
Right 50 out.
So basically, when we talked about this angle T, here the angle T is pretty long. So usually artillery is going to have arrow in range, not so much in direction, because the direction that's not really guaranteed. But direction is more easy to do
Shot over.
than the range, and there's less factors. Shot out.
Say it went back up to like 43 seconds there.
Huh?
I don't know.
That's not good. That might be some issue. Then we forfeit effect. I can only say. It's like, I mean, it's obviously not the exact placement of the stuff. I just placed it again somewhere there, but it's almost the identical thing.
Where's this? Still can't get my map tools to work.
It's not down the lower left.
Normally starts at the bottom left corner, right on the very bottom left grid. Intersection of 0
You
0.
use the self-interact, right? Map tools, show map tools.
Yeah, that's the problem. I don't get the self-interaction on the map anymore.
Oh.
And I have
Oh,
no
there's
idea.
your issue then.
There we go. So now we see the impact past the target. I think that's actually reasonably on the target, as we already see it explode. So now I could enter the fire for effect stage. Fire for effect, over.
Fire for effect out.
Okay, I'm sorry all this took very long, so I want to get you all through one call for fire. So as soon as those impact, I'm going to end the mission. And I'm going to already spawn some other shit. Who wants to go first?
Well, no one
Anybody?
wants to go first, but I guess I'm going to throw myself under the bus.
Okay, let me spawn something. Do you have any preference?
No, whatever you like. Surprise me.
Okay, I'm gonna spawn some Russians.
And just to check, if you wanted to walk those rounds closer on target because they rounded short, that would be a drop rather. That would bring it closer to
They
our
were
position.
they were passed over the target, as we say, over, right? And
Yeah.
then I would have dropped them. But it looked for me like they were within 20 meters. I'm just looking
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Zeus now. They were within 20 meters.
Shot
so-
over.
Shot out.
So he's now entirely shooting all 3 guns, 3 rounds, right?
Mhm.
Correct.
So you'd refer back to your message to observer to see what we're actually going to engage with on the fire for effect.
Obviously, in this case, you could consider even like cutting the number of rounds or something, depending on what you were even trying to do here. But I wanted to surely destroy everything, and the Zeus gun is still there. So, and in ArmA, everything obviously explodes and burns when it's fully destroyed. So it's easy to know what happened. You know, in reality, that's not always the case.
I don't know if they get just
Oh.
shot.
Yeah, the stats thing's working now.
Eventually we'll get rounds, hopefully.
So
Oh,
now
there we
we
go.
see the ICM.
Hopefully. Yeah, there we go. Nice hits.
Actually, yeah, there we go. It's on target.
So we can get that Shilka.
Oh wow, ArmA does not like the ICM rounds.
They're a little performance intensive.
So maybe we're a little bit long.
Shulker eludes you, Mr. Zumwalk.
So, you know,
Whatever. We at least can call this suppressed. Alpha Bravo 1001, end of mission, target suppressed. Record as target, over.
Argus Steel Rain, target suppressed, record as target, out.
Alright, Mr. V Pope, you see that little infantry squad, I guess, in the open?
Yep. I'll look
It's
at
your
my
show.
numbers and distance now then. Talk among yourselves.
Let me know when you need help. I mean, actually, you can kind of walk us through what you're doing again so that other people know what's going on, but... it's
Okie
okay.
dokie, so the first thing I'm doing is just getting a good solid line of sight centre mass so I can work at my bearing. Just looking around 380 or something, I'll double check that now.
One good trick is you can actually you aim at it and you don't move at all. You go to the map and then you can align your map tool to
That's
the
exactly
compass.
what I'm doing right now.
Oh, then good. And then this you can read it very exact, basically. Obviously,
So
if
I'm
we
coming
had
out
a
at 5370 mils.
okay, so you're doing a polar mission too, as well, I guess.
Yes, indeed. The next thing I want to do is work out my range.
Luckily, the human body is
It's about
standardized in ArmA.
1.8 meters, yeah. So I'm getting about 2.5 mils on that man, near enough.
All right.
So just to confirm here, you'd be taking the average height of a human male at 1.8 multiplied by 1,000 divided by your measured
Mils.
mils.
Correct. This is where a more
Which gives me a range of about 720 meters.
subtle reticle is obviously useful. If you have an ACOG, human shoulder width up to 800 meters, very useful.
Right, so I've got my direction and I've got my distance.
We assume that the FTC considers us all one OP, so you don't have to
So I
transmit
don't
that
need to
again.
send the OP again.
Just use the same call sign then, I guess, and then it would be clear. Right, so that's...
So yeah, that's already gone from my head. He's Argus and we are.
Yeah, we are Argus.
I'm
still
Steel
in.
Rain. You're
We're
Argus.
Argus, he's still in.
Would have been another method here, although it's kind of borderline, but we have a recorded target here. What could we also have done?
Could have shifted from their position.
Right, but it's not ideal because it's very hard here to estimate the range shift, and it's already like almost, how many is it? 5100 to 400. That's just 300 mils, but it's already quite an angle in this, I think. So wouldn't do it either.
Okay, right, that's all marked up my map. So unless I'm mistaken, my format is going to be
Steel
obviously-
Rain, this is Argus, adjust polar, over.
Argus, this is Steel Rain. Adjust fire. Polar out.
so at which point I then want to give direction and range.
Argus, 5370 mils at 720 meters, over.
Direction 5370. Distance 720. Out.
You want to use the pro words direction and distance so that it's clear what numbers
Direction
you're
and
transmitting.
distance, okay.
If you're using the reference sheet, just basically you're filling in the blanks here other than up and down.
So at this point, target description.
Argus, 1 times enemy platoon in the open, 50 meter dispersion, over.
Enemy platoon in the open. 50-meter dispersion. Out.
I'm not sure if I'd call it a platoon, but yep.
Well, it's
He just
part
wants
of the
more
squad.
rounds. Fucking 3 guys who call a battalion, so you get like.
So at this point, I'm holding them for the message from him confirming the mission, right?
Right. How about
And if-
we do pure HE for this pie to see the impacts more clearly than
Copy.
So this good opportunity for me to ask a question then, Zoom. Would this be a legitimate target to try airbusting above just to try and get maximum lethality, or would you not bother since it's just men's?
You could do that. You would have requested VT
I would've,
or
yeah.
variable timing. If you insisted on it, maybe he's going to do it. But obviously that's only for the effect part, right? In the adjust part, you always fire with point detonate to locate the location, because it'd be very hard to locate the airburst that's in the air.
Yeah.
Message to observer. Steel Rain. 2 rounds. Proximity in effect. Target number Alpha Bravo 1002. Over.
Argus, 2 round proximity, Alpha Bravo 1002, out.
Now we're expecting him to say shot, and it's going to be 1 HE round until you say fire for effect, basically.
Yeah. And then we just got to adjust off of the known position. So I'm going to have an OT factor of 0.7 for this, I would guess. It's close enough.
Yeah, similar to earlier, I guess.
Would you bother using 7.2?
No. For calculating, no, because you're not going to... Like, 1 or 2 meters difference is nothing for the impacts.
Shot Alpha Bravo 1002. Over.
Argus, Alpha Bravo 1002, shot out.
Pop quiz, if you're doing a grid mission, adjust fire, do you still need to give an OT direction?
Anybody?
So if you're giving a grid-only mission,
But if
You're
you're
doing
adjusting fire,
if you're
You still-
adjusting, then surely, otherwise they don't know where you're referencing from.
exactly.
Exactly.
That's fair.
Okay, so I've got that about 110 mils to the right.
So we already see a pattern here, I think.
So yeah, I'm going to adjust about 80 left, I guess, so I would go...
Steel Rain, Argus, adjust left, 80 meters, over.
Left 80. Out.
Keep in mind, short transmissions, like literally all you need to say is left 80 over.
Okay.
So this would be one example where we should check. We have this exact deviation again. Is our location correct that we send? I look at the GPS. We're within a few meters of what I transmitted. So what could it be, right? Could be that the altitude is actually significant enough. The 13 meters. So, but it's actually quite possible.
It's about 10 meter drop.
Shot.
Check.
Over.
Shot out.
So this could be something that you can then also say, as a correction, you could say down 10. But now, obviously, if you're making it with other direct corrections, then it's going to get confusing for you, right?
Yeah,
now
one at a time.
Yeah, because now you're basically compensating for the altitude error with left and right, and you just got to stick with that and do that. But for the future, this just proves altitude always good to have. For low angle, essential, basically.
That's about 70 or 80 mils from center. Well, more like 65. So I'm going to give it 50.
Left 50, over.
Left 50 out.
Looks a little close to us as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so let's say it impacts now in the center
Shot
of the
over.
formation.
Shot out.
It would impact now in front of the enemy at the same range. Then you could probably go ahead and say, I'm going to be bold and say this is within 100 meters, so I'm going to add 100. And if it lands over the infantry, you say drop
And then
50
bracket
fire
it back
for
and
effect.
forth, yeah.
Especially when the targets are like it's flat terrain and you're looking at the targets of basically like imagine we were not on top of this but on the same level with them. It's going to get very hard to estimate the impact, how far the impact is far behind it. You can basically only say it's in front or behind it, right? Like that's the only certain thing basically. And then it even gets hard with like the vector and dagger combination because you're not going to be accurately able to lace the impact because it's on the same plane as you.
Say they could bumped it up to 45 seconds again for that one.
So
Okay.
clearly, we need to carry
switch
combat
positions.
ladders.
Oof.
Oh, that's a bit far off to the left.
Did it kill him? No, right, that's just another impact.
That's going to be 50.
This is relatively realistic, though, in terms of real artillery capabilities with our typical crews. So you're gonna be having to make adjustments relatively often and quickly.
Right 30, over.
Right 30 out.
I mean, if you imagine this was a TBT, that'd already be long gone, right?
Indeed, yeah.
I'd probably call that a right 30 add 10 fire for effect at this point.
You could. Significantly
Shot
shorter,
over.
though, again.
Shot out.
But keeping in mind with, the whole it might not be your objective. I mean, if they were running away, you've at least disrupted them, so... I mean, if they're in a defensive position, it's either, hey, stay there until you finally get accurate that you start inflicting casualties, or they're gonna have to move to an alternate position. So you still, accomplish your mission, you've at least moved them away from their position.
So another thing worth considering is the CEP, or the expected accuracy of the battery.
Mm-hmm.
Once you start getting down to minute...
Say that one was 25 seconds, I think there's something between the time of flight.
It's
So-
that and probably the altitude. So I would...
Those
Go ahead
two
and-
shots are on
yeah.
either side, so I could half the distance back the other way, add, say, 15, and then probably call it.
Fire for effect, yep. I'd go ahead and do that because the massed impact of those rounds and they're going to be airburst are going to do an effect. So
So I was at 13, so
Left 15, add 15, fire for effect, over.
50 meters is at the basically below the.
Argus
marginal
Steel
level.
ran. Say again your corrections, over.
Left 15, add 15, fire for effect, over.
Left 15, add 15, fire for effect, out.
Once we have this, I'll teleport us somewhere else, and hopefully I'll eliminate that artillery side error. Get to the next one.
Shot Alpha Bravo 1002, over.
Shot Alpha Bravo 1002 out.
So UO is a perfect example of why in artillery, you never say 15, because we got a bunch of different people from a bunch of different countries here with different accents. So that's like, did he say 15? Did he say 50?
Plus, radio audio quality and hastiness and.
Well, in the Navy they don't say 5, or at least in the Royal Navy they don't say 5 when they're counting down to a fire order. They skip it altogether. It's 6, 4, 3, 2, 1, because fire sounds too much like 5.
Yeah, in German you'd say fünf instead of fünf because it's just more pronounced. I mean, it's a niner too, right? And those type of.
It's weird, because that was a landing even closer than before.
Was this airburst? No.
Yeah. That's just how they look. I mean, you kind of say they are exploding.
True.
I didn't kill my man, Zumok.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed.
I think it's fair to say in real life they would all be full of shrapnel and combat ineffective at this point.
Probably. I'm just gonna assume they have fled and were successfully harassed at least. I'm gonna teleport us somewhere else, and we can pick up a new target.
No one has any excuse to miss now. You've seen me do it wrong.
Oh, I'm in inside it. That's.
Oh yeah, that wasn't optimal. Sorry.
What has science done?
Oh my God! There's a dead body. No, that's not. It's Blackhawk.
Is this disembodied man?
You're gonna get teleported again. Sorry.
Decapitated. Oh God.
What? It's even worse.
You cannot
God.
escape.
Did you really teleport yourself into the fucking tube? That's amazing.
I need a man with some shears. I'm
So
trapped.
this is an example of a non-ideal OP.
I'm stuck behind a bush.
Well, it's at least
Just turn around.
Oh, I'm free.
I was
Okay, I'm
teleported
gonna do
into a
this
tube.
in 3D again because it's just
Yeah.
There we go.
finally. That's what happens when you do that on the map. Let me quickly spawn some target. Who wants to go next? Who wants to go next?
Probably want to figure out where the fuck we are.
I nominate Overlord.
Honestly,
Me?
I've done this enough that I would rather let less experienced players get a chance to practice before we run out of time.
Yeah. Then who else wants to?
Come on.
Yeah, give it to me.
Alright,
First,
Pax
Alright.
is our-
Fucking figure out
You
where the
see
fuck we are.
the UAZs over there under the power line
Stand by.
on the road?
Yeah. Oh, moment. Now I lagged out. Oh God.
See
Wow.
them?
Yes. Yeah. Now I. What the hell is going on? Yeah, I see them, but I'm lagging
Let's focus
really
on the
hard
map.
Yeah.
Let me know when you're there. I don't have
Oh, yeah, I'm
anything.
fine.
I have the potato computer here, so.
First, gotta figure out where we are.
Yeah, look on the map at grid 1618. See the hill here?
Yeah, that's us.
We're here.
Okay.
So let's quickly orient. The targets are to our northeast. So you see the power line and the road intersection here?
Oh, I see the power line at the road intersection.
So what would be an opportunity here to do?
I would actually give a grid.
Correct. Would be my preference too. Put the grid finder right on that intersection. It's a very precise location.
Let me figure out something real quick here. Is that? Yeah, that's.
We don't have to worry about range from us to them, anything.
Isn't Pax the one with the broken map tools?
Yeah, I just
yeah.
got them to work. Just stand
Oh,
by
that's
for a
good.
second here. It didn't eat my self-interaction key for some reason. Don't know why though. Okay.
Where are we again? What part of the map?
1618 at hill 60, 72.
There we go.
Technically speaking, this is within the realms of a danger close, but it's almost 600, so we can say good enough.
Zoomwork, can you give me like a 4-digit just so I can see where the fuck we are on the map?
We are.
Threw a marker down.
Damn, my map's being laggy as shit.
Relatively center of the island between the land bridge.
Ooh, I wonder if we're too
Oh,
close.
that's interesting.
What's
We,
the issue?
are we still? Are we? Sorry. Are we still going for just fire shift?
You could say that you have a confident target location here because it's going to be very accurate. We saw the artillery do bullshit earlier, but let's say the artillery has figured out the issue, and we'll just take the risk.
So just be a fire effect then, right?
Yeah. So
Watch.
I wonder if we're too close in work.
we did this last time, unless everything just started to be different.
Okay. I mean, yeah, we'll try it, but
We fired right here at the exact same location, even closer.
Just give me a second here.
So yeah, so go to your the reference sheet, format 4, or page 23, and you just fill in the gaps here. There's just 2 gaps. You basically 3 gaps or 4 gaps, I guess, you need to fill. So your call sign, FTC call sign, the grid, and your
Yeah.
target description, and get the altitude too, right? Let's not make that error
Oh,
again.
that's a fucking good suggestion.
another thing to note too when you're picking out your position as a forward observer, especially if you're in a TVT against other players, consider we're on the domineering terrain right now. We got this building right here. If I was down there and I was taking artillery fire and I was looking to see where the observer was, I'd probably look right at that building.
Yeah, we didn't talk about OP selection whatsoever, but we don't really have the time. And again, there's so many things that we could talk about. Where are we hanging packs in terms of getting the grid, or?
I got the grid, but I'm currently figuring out. I forgot how to which lines on the map. The red ones and the grey ones. What's that in altitude difference?
On the
Oh.
right of your screen, it tells you as you zoom.
The
Oh,
interval
really?
is always between all lines. So if you zoom out here to the 5-meter interval, let's do that one. You can see that this is
Yeah.
Actually, that's kind of weird. The point spot is at
Yeah,
40.
it's a bit strange. So what, 40,
So,
35?
So
I
if
would
this
have
is
said
40,
30.
then this would be 35. Yeah, but that's close enough. 5 meters is
Okay.
marginal. So 35, 30, 30-ish. I mean, here it should be around 30.
Okay.
go to
Argus
2-meter
and steel
interval.
rain is still right?
Yep.
Okay. Argus, this steel rain. This is Argus 5 for effect. Over.
Argus Steel Rain, fire for effect, out.
Grid 16511876 32 meters. Over. God damn it.
16511876, altitude 32, out.
Kind of confused. The target's description is the third transmission, right? So yeah, that
Yep.
was right. 3 times UAZ stationary. Over.
Three times UAZ stationary, out.
And I fucked up because I should have sent the method of fire too, right?
Only
Oh,
if
if
you
you
wanted
don't say
something
anything.
non-standard.
He's just gonna decide how many rounds, what type of rounds, and gonna tell you how many, and fire when ready, basically. So
Are they in the open? Are they surrounded by buildings?
yeah, unless it's. I
That
mean, if it's
is
not
good, yeah.
specified, I would assume in the open, and it's typically how you encounter vehicles. So they're under cabinets or trees or in a bunker, and then you would definitely want to say that.
But a good point, Overlord. Yeah, I should have transmitted that, I guess.
Let's hope that this works as it should.
So Zumok, if the FDC comes back with the method of fire, so let him go.
So, message to observer, Steel Rain, 2 rounds, in effect, target number, Alpha Bravo 1003, over.
Acknowledged. 2 rounds, fire for effect, Alpha Bravo 1003, out.
Say again, VPOP.
Just going to say, if the FTC came back to him with a message to observer, but the observer realizes there's a problem with the fire mission, would you correct him prior to outing that statement at that point?
I mean, if you...
Argus, this is Steel Rain, over.
Argus sent, over.
Argus, this is Steel Rain, request OT direction, over.
Argus, stand by, over.
This is something that you ideally send already, like, before the rounds impact, so that you can immediately make the corrections.
Technically, you'd actually send it when you repeat the message to observer back to the FTC. You'd actually include your OT direction.
So just in hundreds of mils, it's good enough for this.
Steel Rain, Argus, OT direction, over.
Argus, this is Steel Rain, send it over.
OT direction 7200, over. It's rather like a 2-3.
Argus, this is Steel Rain, OT direction 7200, out.
I'm a faggot.
So you say 100, basically if it's 2 zeros, you say 100. So 500, 5,500. Or, yeah.
I'm getting 800 mils.
Yeah, I'm kinda, I don't know, I think I shifted my mouse here, stand by.
It's just doesn't have to be super accurate, just use the compass and then have the aiming wire right at the UAZ, and then I get around 800.
So
Steel Rain, Argus, OT direction, correction, over.
Argus, Steel Rain, send your correction, over.
OT direction 7800, over.
It's not 7800 though, is it?
It's not. It's
From my
just
position, it,
8. There's a big difference between 780 and 7800.
Remember, it's a 1, not a... Or wait, what is the...
7800 doesn't exist on the circle,
Yeah.
so...
so it's 780, what?
Yeah, 780,
Just
780.
780.
Yeah, wait, I thought it's just 1,000 mils in there.
Hundreds. This is
Yeah, it's in
hundreds.
Hundreds of mils.
God damn it.
There's 6,400, but keep in mind there's 2 digits on that outer circle.
Yes.
So you just add 2 zeros to whatever.
Did we already shoot?
No. So keep in mind, since you've already sent all the information, that I need to actually shoot the mission, if you find, that you messed up like that, immediately call check firing. Because unless you say something, I'm going to shoot.
Well, the OT direction doesn't change anything right now. That could still be corrected.
Yeah, still, I mean, if it was me, once you shoot around, you can't take it back, so...
Want me to correct it again, or are you just gonna go for 780?
No, I can just correct it. Yeah,
Just-
it was
Just go with it. Let's get it done.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I mean pi.
Shot, Alpha Bravo 1003, over.
Shot, Alpha Bravo 1003, out.
I want it through the rear window packs.
I'm not so sure because I exactly aimed for the part where, where the goddamn power lines and the street crossed.
All right, time's ticking. They're on the move. They know they're under fire.
It was a fire for effect mission, though, right?
No, it was a just fire.
No, it was fire for effect.
Fire for effect, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep. FTC failed.
Yeah, I failed you.
Enemy escaped.
All right, so say you only get one round. Even if it was my fuck up, what are you gonna call?
Go for
what?
adjust, didn't you?
So, like, say, even if I fucked up as the FTC, I only gave you one round when you wanted fire for effect. What are you gonna call?
Let's adjust this. I hope I can do it.
Were you close enough to achieve effects?
I would say I would actually drop. I would drop on the OT.
Keep in mind, you can also make an adjustment when you call for the fire for effect. So you could say, you know, drop 5-0 fire for effect.
Okay.
Yeah, or even less here. And also, I only saw one round, so you expected, what, 2 or 3?
Yeah,
or
2 rounds. I only
so
saw
you
2
could
rounds
say
impact.
1 round lost, only, you know, informing
Okay.
that there's rounds that either dudded or went somewhere else. So, but, yeah. In this case, we know what happened, so let's admit it.
Okay. Steerain, Argus, adjust fire over.
No, you don't have to say that anymore. That would initiate a new mission. You just say drop
Okay.
50, fire for effect.
Oh, so I'm still like
in
in ongoing. Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Roger.
Until you
Sorry.
Until you end the mission.
If there's multiple missions going on, you want to always say the target number, right? So if there's another
Yeah,
observer
sure.
that's firing at the same time, but if it's only one, then you can omit that.
Steerain, Argus, Alpha Bravo 1003. Drop 25 over.
Argus, this is Steel Rain, Alpha Bravo 1003, drop 25 out.
So now you've still an adjust. You didn't call for effect. So you could have also said drop 25, fire for effect. Then he would fire.
So now he
No,
would like
but-
fire 1 round for
He
adjustment.
fires
and-
1 round again. Yeah.
Okay.
Until you say fire for effect, he's only going to fire 1 round.
Roger. And it's still gonna let him fire it because I'm not sure how far that is behind what I'm actually shooting
Yeah.
at.
I mean, it's you can say with confidence it's within 100 meters. So if you drop 50, you're definitely within 50 meters, which is good enough for 155 millimeter artillery, right? If we're firing 60 millimeter mortars, all of this has to be
Shot
more
over.
accurate.
Shut out.
Right, if
Yeah,
you use the vanilla 60 mil mortar, you need to get the rounds within 20 meters to have some good effect, right? So. Yeah,
Ooh.
it's-
Here it goes.
So, I mean,
That was
yeah, at
Zeus,
this
right?
point- No, that was fucking 155.
Wow. That's pretty heavy. Steering Argus, end of mission over.
Argus, Steel Rain, mission ends, out.
So, who else do we have? Sam and Blackhawk, right? Are still there. I'm sorry
Yeah,
that
I
we're
can-
taking so long.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm gonna spawn something. Actually, how about we, can you spawn us through Zeus a crate with like vectors and daggers for everybody? And we can kind of do the precision thing for once at least.
Oh, that would be great.
And I can just
Yeah,
Straight
no,
add
I'm
it
not
in
that
there.
good with Zeus,
Yeah, do that. Let's do it
okay.
through the
Yeah,
console
I'll
then
take care
while
of it.
I'm spawning between.
Daggers, easy mode.
Will you shortly go over how to set that up? Because I have no idea how to do it.
Oh yeah, we'll do that
I'm
then
sorry.
because that's useful. No problem. I mean, explicitly said the land nav should be sound. But...
Oh, the land we didn't do that.
Okay, yeah.
Well, considering how long ago some people might have taken it, it's good to.
If you look
refresh.
over there, I spawned a little BMP. That's going to be the target for now. I know it's just a point target. It's not the ideal artillery target, but as soon as everybody has a vector and dagger, then you can kind of try to get a very accurate fix on that. And then maybe we do one shift from known with who's gonna go here, Sam or Blackhawk?
I can go.
That's Sam.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you want to do a shift?
No, this is going to be probably grit. If we get a vector, once we have the vector and dagger, then that would be the preferred method. I guess if we only have a vector, then you would do a polar, right? So if we only have a vector...
You can check inventory.
So if we're using guided stuff for this, would it just be an immediate fire for effect?
Yeah, because you're going to assume that the artillery knows what they're doing.
Okay.
You kind of have to know the people you're working with, right? It's the M109, so you got to be... Basically, if the people fail with that, they really don't know what they're doing at all. If it's the more manual artillery, there's a lot more error sources in the process. So, especially the first mission you fire, you might want to just do a just to see how accurate are we, and then if that's confident, then.
Okay. So, does anybody need help connecting the vector to the dagger?
Self-interact, equipment, configure dagger, and then we go to connect to. So with the up and down arrow keys there on the interface, select that and then select vector 21. No device found. That's I need to have it in my slot.
Does anyone not have a vector in their binocular slot?
Now you gotta go to gear and put it in your binocular slot. I again go self-interact equipment, configure dagger. I go down to connect to, vector connect it, and I close the dagger again. And I use the home button, should be empty now that I haven't laced anything. And I pick up my vector with B. And now I do a combined measuring. So I press the tab and R, the distance and azimuth key simultaneously. Should a degree setting should appear. And then the circle appears on the BMP and I release and I have both readings. And now if I go out of the vector again, I have, and unfortunately nowadays only 8-digit grid on the thing. Why did they change that? Doesn't even make sense.
Damn it, again, don't get any readings at all.
So 1615,
yeah.
1837.
What do you have to press to get the readings on the dagger?
I have a different grid.
Press
Tab and R.
Tab and R simultaneously.
To change to let's change to mils also. So we press R 5 times.
Tab 5 times.
Sorry. We press 5 times again to don't change anything. And then we press tab 5 times. It should show unit setting, and then we press R once. 6 for 100 in SI units, and then we press 5 times tab again. And now if I do it again, it should come up with mils. I'm reading 1,155 mils and 641 meters distance. That gives me a grid of 1673, 1864 at elevation 19er. So this should be your target data.
Is anybody having trouble with the vector and dagger?
Yeah, it doesn't show anything for me.
Okay.
You have
Sorry,
some
was
serious
that
ace
talking?
issues, I have a feeling.
It's crazy fuck here.
Is that PAX?
Yeah,
Just confirm
sure.
that grid you got for me.
Okay.
Again.
So were you able to get it from displaying degrees to mils?
Yeah, sure, that works, but I'm
Okay.
not getting a grid at all. I just reconnected to the vector here. Just stand by for a
Alrighty.
second.
Okay, so Pax, what you want to do? Let me know when you have the binos on target.
One
I do,
second.
I do.
Sam, you have the page 23, right? You're filling the gaps. When you're ready, you start transmitting the pi.
Okay, will do. My daggers still sit on degrees. Is that supposed to change with the vector?
You dagger, you don't need to... The bearing, you mean? No, that's... I mean, you're not going to need that. You know the
Okay.
mils from the vector, right? I mean,
Alright.
For the OT direction.
Okay, alright, yeah, that makes sense.
PAX is fixed.
Alright.
Obviously, this is something that'll come through practice. You're going to be able to very quickly just range it, look at the grid, and immediately spit it into the radio, and then the rounds are hopefully going to land in time there.
You can also change the dagger to be measuring in mils if you want as well, under the options menu.
Let us know when we can help, Sam, right? If you're stuck somewhere.
Yeah, I should be ready to go.
And go ahead.
Oh shit, I can't. Hang on. I had to open this in a Chrome tab instead of the Steam browser.
Yeah, this is something that I have printed out for quite a long time, these reference sheets. So even if I don't do shit for months, I can still look at them, and then all I need to fill is the gaps, and it's mentally not so challenging. I can worry about getting the correct data instead of the correct procedure.
I recommend, if you plan on doing this often in game, take one of these cards straight out of the JFire, blow it up, print it out, and laminate it. And then just a fucking dry erase marker.
That's a good idea.
I just have a blank sheet of paper, or when I do FTCing, I actually print out the official target list worksheet, which is very handy. Like, there's actual U.S. Army forms you can get online for this that are for the super uninitiated, that have a line for everything you do at each adjustment you write down.
Argus, this is Steel Rain. Fire for effect, over.
Are you Steel Rain, though? Thought I was Steel Rain.
Steel Rain, this is Argus. Fire for effect, over.
Argus, this is Steel Rain. Fire for effect, out.
Grid 16731864, over.
16731864, out.
Third transmission?
Okay, do I need to say anything more?
Yeah, it's third transmission here. Give it a target description. That's the least you have to say. Like, at least say BMD in the open, or...
BMP in the open, over.
BMP in the open, out.
You could do all sorts of things. Like, let's say, for example, your platoon is maneuvering. They want that BMP to be hit at a certain time. You could say a time, or you say at my command, because you want to time it with something specific, right? Or
okay.
Let's say this is a smoke screen. You have it ready, and you want to have it on at my command, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Message to observer, Steel Rain. 3 rounds in effect. Target number, Alpha Bravo 1004, over.
3 rounds in effect. Alpha Bravo 1004, out.
Alright, now I know this isn't a just fire, but remember that OT direction, because even if your grid is wrong for whatever reason.
Yeah, I got it ready.
and then go.
Shot, target Alpha Bravo 1004, over.
Shot, out.
You can see that circular error problem somebody was talking about. So there we go. So this was obviously a destruction mission, right? We're trying to hit a point target with artillery. It's without guided munitions. That's usually, like, I mean, this was reasonable, right? We shot like 6 rounds to destroy 1 BMP. That's a reasonable thing. Go ahead and do your BDA.
End of mission, target destroyed, over.
End of mission, target destroyed, out.
For argument's sake, Zulu, how would one adjust from that position to the BMP using the vector? If you want to.
Yeah, this is where I don't remember it anymore. Let me bring it up. I haven't, like, I've mainly maybe used that once. One second.
Another thing you can do, remember when you're doing your final transmission, or where you do your BDA, you can also make slight corrections there if you want to record it as target. So you can see the rounds landed, a little bit to the right and a little bit short. So you could say,
add 20, left 20 into mission.
Yep. You could say, like left 20, add 20, record as target. So if you need to hit it again, you would just get those last little corrections in there.
Gotcha.
Right, let's focus on that BMP one more time. We can still see, like, let's take the rightmost impact points, I guess. So what we do first is we press the azimuth key once, then immediately press it again and hold it down. The following items will appear in the field of view: the current azimuth to the left and the current angle of inclination to the right. Now, we look at the target, the burning BMP. And then we
tap R once.
No, we tap. Is it once? I think we hold it down. Is it tap?
Yeah, it says tap R once while further holding tab. The first measurement 1-P is confirmed.
Right, 1P shows up. And then we measure the rightmost impact point. And we release the azimuth key. And now it should say L33 A55, and we did it the other way around. Is that right?
Select the object you want to hit first. Tap down and hold it down.
Yeah, so you gotta do reverse order. You gotta start with the target and then go to the impacts.
Tap R once while holding tab, move to the impact point, and then release tab, and it gives you left 11, add 17 for me.
It's 3025.
I got left 34, add 88.
That's weird. Which crate you're measuring from.
Yeah,
that's how it works anyway.
Yeah, so target, then impacts.
Target, then actual shot land.
Then you somehow switch through it, right? If it's okay. In any case,
clever.
Let's focus. I didn't fully finish it yet. Let's focus on to this direction here, to the east. Let me quickly finish that while you locate it.
Oh, there's some sort of crazy fortification. That is a very quick fortification.
Wow, it's quick and dirty.
Building like ants.
So, back to our landmap skills. We see a linear thing, and that we can actually look at the map and see it's on the road, as everybody sees, obviously, right? So how do we locate this in the center the most effectively between the center two bunkers? All right, we shoot an azimuth. So I hold down my compass in the center until it's steady. Then I press M. I map tool align map tool to compass, and then I put it from my OP towards the road. And as it looks, the center is also right below the intersection with a power line. If somebody can see that, right? Do you guys concur? So
yeah, the left end. Yeah.
This is the center of this thing. So if we imagine this just for amplification. Right, this would roughly be this like entrenchment, right?
No, I think it's to the road just to the left of that. Because you look at the road goes up and curves east. So it's the road just closer to us.
Oh yeah, he's right.
Oh, he's right, yeah. I'm completely wrong.
It's that bit there.
Brownie points.
So, let's do this again. Yeah, that's good. So I would have failed here, yep.
Somewhere between those two, I guess.
So basically, that as you rightly painted here, right? So this would be our center. this point here, roughly. Let's actually use the proper symbol. It's like our center point. So, how do we describe a linear target again?
Linear grid of center and direction.
Attitude and length in the center, yeah. So how long, and when we measure this here with the map tools roughly, how long is it?
150 meters.
200 meters, I'd say. And then the attitude is how many mils? 0.900. So, Sam, do you? Blackhawk, do you want to do this?
Sure.
So we assume obviously that this is occupied and with troops or something. I can put some in actually.
God, those bunkers lods are just awful.
Hmm?
I don't know if maybe it's just mine.
Bunker
but
lots, yeah.
The distance lots for me, like the textures are all messed up. GG Bohemia.
What was the focal sign?
Steel rain.
Argus.
Oh, Argus, yeah. Sorry,
Argus.
FTC steel.
Argus. Okay.
I'll do it.
Sir says ride with his TAC 50.
That's some fine infantry placements, Zumok.
Isn't it? So, while he's composing the call for fire, what would be our fuse preference here?
HE, proximity.
Yeah, proximity or airburst, because obviously if the rounds impact like on this side of the road, then they're going to be protected, right? And like, imagine if there was a trench that was protecting them on both sides. Fortunately, there's no real trenches in ArmA.
They have the ace ones. I mean, they don't look very pretty, but
Yeah,
they
they're
should
not
stop.
actually below ground. But, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, they should stop. You know, if you try to shoot PD at them, once you get a direct hit, they're pretty resilient.
Steel Rain, this is Argus. Fire for effect, over.
Argus, steel rain, fire for effect, out.
Grid 16841837, altitude 20, over.
16841837, altitude 20, out.
Target is enemy fortifications. Break. Altitude is 0900, length 200, over.
I copy enemy fortifications, attitude 0900, length 200, out.
Perfect. The only thing, obviously, 0900 would be the way to pronounce the numbers, because if you like say like more than 2 zeros consecutively, you can easily get confused, or one gets lost, right, and stuff like that. So you say 0900 or 900, or 1000 if it's 3 digits, right?
Argus, this is steel rain, interrogative, over.
Argus sent.
Copy, what is the target's degree of overhead protection?
Bunkers with metal rooftops, low protection. Over.
I copy. Bunkers with metal rooftops. Out.
Yeah, the way that looks to me, it's like this thin metal roofing bullshit, so it wouldn't protect against anything, basically.
Yeah.
And most people are in the no overhead.
Mm-hmm.
Shrapnels will go through it, right?
Yeah, I mean, in ArmA, never sure anything, but...
Especially, too, since it's elevated, proximity might just fly right through the opening. Like the shrapnel might just fly right through that opening as well.
So, we'll see how quickly Pi can get that linear fire mission going, because it's not fully, it's not like a sheaf yet. He has to manually fire at each aim point, basically.
Oh, do I?
In an ideal world, we will have massed fire, so the entire line gets hit simultaneously, basically, right? Somebody wanted to ask something?
Yeah, so what he's currently doing is he's taking his, I don't know, how much guns he got? 4?
3.
So he's currently spacing all his guns along the linear target we described, like center, left, right?
Pretty much. If he's doing the way I would do it, I don't know, we didn't do this in a long time. He's using the attitude as OT direction in the computer, right? And then he walks them using the add drop, basically, within, I don't know, use 30-meter aim points here and 3 guns.
Does it help when you're in FO?
Go ahead.
Does it help to when you have this a linear target and you have let's say we got a bit better covered bunkers in there? Would it make sense to let the FDC know that, for example, in this one here, all bunkers are equally segmented along the line, like he can imagine where the bunkers are? Does it make sense to tell where special targets are?
Then you would give specific aim points. Like if you're trying to take out those individual main bunkers and you have Excalibur GPS guided rounds, which are currently broken, unfortunately, I think, then of course you would aim at those individually. If the bunkers are basically spaced out and there is no thing in between here, then you would also probably... I mean, in this case, they're still very close together, so you would still use a linear target, especially in reality. But with imagine this is a normal mission, we have 160mm mortar, then you'll have to individually hit those bunkers with individual aim points. You would call up individual missions, basically.
Okay.
You can technically describe a target with multiple grid aim points. So that works too, right?
So simply just telling him where, for example, currently looking at it, we have 4 bunkers, and there are 3 wall segments in between them.
And you get 4 grids. Then 4 grids for each bunker, and then he can basically distribute. I mean, if in this case you want to have the rounds equally distributed along this trench line, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Leads on to another question, which is if you wanted to relay a target position without actually requesting a fire mission, would you just call up and say take down target position and give the grid, or is there a format
to record a target? I don't think there is really. Maybe Pi knows more, but basically, go ahead.
You just stand by, stand by for target. And give a target name. So target, Alpha Bravo 1001 grid. You give a description if you want, and then you can actually set that as your priority target. So basically, whenever they end a mission, or they're not in a mission, they're laid. So they've got all the guns not loaded, but pointed at that data. So if you need, say hey, suppress target, 1001, they'll immediately load and fire, and they're already laid on it. So you cut down that time it takes to work up the mission.
Yeah. So let's say you have a typical mission here where we need to attack a town. We don't know exactly where the enemy is. You would have the most likely enemy position as a target, right? Where you already say, all right, we're going to put a linear target on this tree line here with 10 rounds, HE smoke mix. And then you have your priority target, you have the artillery lay on it, and as soon as it turns out the enemy is actually there's the enemy platoon battle position there. You just say fire Alpha Bravo 5222, and then the rounds are going to be basically time of flight.
So you're pre-planning your mission.
Yeah, and that's...
Alright. Sorry, I'll see how fast we can pump this out.
Yeah, let's do this.
Message to observer, Steel Rain, 3 guns, 9 rounds in effect. Correction, 3 guns, 9 rounds Proximity in effect. Target number Alpha Bravo 1005. Over.
Argus, 3 guns, 9 rounds. Proximity target number Alpha Bravo 1005. Over.
So what you would have to do for like
Shot over.
Shot out.
Yep.
what the FTC would have to do with his guns, like to for simultaneous impact at sight, would be like to does the flight computer do that for him? Like when he shoots like multiple rounds per gun, like he's doing that.
Do that with the M109. He only has one high angle and one low angle solution. He can't really do he can only do like max 2 rounds for multiple impact. The interface I put in there doesn't have so much control, so right now he's probably just walking down the line with rounds, as you're gonna see, which is obviously not the most effective. He wouldn't do this like that in reality. But still, since it's AI, they're not gonna flee out of it, so you're just gonna die. But yeah, if this was like individual guns now controlled by people, then you would very easily just give them all an aim point, right? That's what I would do, and I'd have them shoot left and right at that aim point, 20 meters, and then we have rounds impacting all across this thing simultaneously.
Yeah, but what I'm seeing right now, they're not going airburst.
They are proximity. It just looks like they impact the ground, but they actually explode.
Oh, okay.
In midair. The thing is I guess the effects are not perfect for that. What you can see though that lots of them are already dead.
And sorry, this whole time I've been calling rounds complete. Normally get rounds complete after the last salvo is fired. It's just kind of hard to tell with this system.
Yeah, it's not ideal. I need to completely program it from scratch again. It's really weird. I think the important thing here is that the idea is clear, so that when you actually have a human battery, they can actually do this more deliberately.
See, one of the rounds detonate behind us.
Oh.
Huh.
Slightly terrifying.
It wasn't on the ground, it was in the air.
Don't worry, it's just straining ammunition.
Yeah. Like the first time we did when we did that 119 course. I don't know if you were there. But like it was when the delay rounds were broken for the 119, so we just had delay rounds like exploded in the air like flag.
Okie dokie. I think everybody has gone through other than Overlord. Do you want to do one?
Damn,
yeah, I'll take one.
Yeah, I'm going to prepare one while the mission gets BD8 by Blackhawk.
Direct fire mission.
You could obviously now, you can see that still on the left there's enemies alive, so you could like either adjust onto that from the center, or just say repeat, which would obviously waste a lot of ammo, or call up a new mission just to make it simpler, or just say end a mission. They're definitely combat ineffective down there. You know, right?
I got an idea. You want to try doing a CED?
Oh, with the CED call, proper CED call for fire with the TOT and
just grid to mark or disperse.
No, I wouldn't. I'd rather just keep the simple.
Just wondering what the hell is CED?
Suppression of enemy air defense.
Oh, okay.
So this is when you actually try to suppress enemy air defenses, and you time it with the aircraft that are performing an attack onto those or something else, and then this. So this is like the mastery of arts with joint fires, I guess. But I'd rather do like the basic stuff, which is 99% of the time you're gonna do shit in missions. Sorry, I'm kind of distracted.
Yeah, if you stick around after the course, maybe I'll.
Yeah, we can
do that real quick.
I just want to get things done here. Let's see, where do we spawn something? I guess we could do a shift from known point, and we take the center of. We have the target recorded, right? The center of the installation here. So, what was the target number again?
1004. You talk about the trench line thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1004.
Can you mark that to the exact location that you recorded on the map so that people have this understood?
Yes, sir.
In the meantime, Overlord, the target is there to the front left, mechanized infantry squad. And then obviously you can use the center off between the two center bunkers is going to be your shift from known. If you could do that, it'd be cool.
Sure.
One question for the dagger. You gave us this batteries shooting?
No, it just does that.
Um,
Hopefully it doesn't.
there was this number on the left and the right after we designated all the points. What exactly do you mean? Like on the left hand side, is that add and drop or left right?
I got a little confused myself. I have the manual here open, which is actually, if you Google that vector, USMC Vector 21 manual, you can actually get the full manual, because the ACE people didn't really document it yet anywhere fully.
Yeah,
What?
Sorry, God. Yeah, it's you should see, like, if I do one, you get I got like a L36 and a A44, so your correction would be left 36, add 44.
And then somehow you can also bring up the vertical correction if there is one through a button, I think.
Press R once.
Oh yeah, look at that. Back in
click
my
distance
day,
key to display.
all we
Back
had
in
was
your-
a compass.
Back in my day, he's 25 or something.
Actually, I mean, like, when I did Golf Fire, I literally had a map, a compass, and then used my RCO.
Mm. So here, obviously, to kind of walk through what Overlord is doing, he determines the direction, the OT line, right, that we're going to be shifting on. So I measure around 1500 mils, right, 1500 mils. Then he determines, and you can use the binos. The vector actually has a horizontal scale too in mils. It's actually kind of handy. So I measure around 60 mils. Range to target roughly 600 meters. So what are we going to be talking about?
Getting left 35, drop 72.
1 second. Yeah, that's roughly what I come up with too. So let's go ahead. You're gonna do an adjust?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Steel Rain, this is Argus. Adjust fire, over.
My ears.
Argus, steel range, just fire out.
So here you would have set adjust fire shift and the known point. So adjust fire shift Alpha Bravo 1004. Over.
It's not what I'm seeing on my reference. Okay, I see it. Steel Rain, this is Argus. Adjust fire shift Alpha Bravo 1005, over.
Adjust fire, shift, Alpha Bravo 1004, out.
Direction 1520, left 30, drop 70, over.
Argus, this is Steel Rain, confirm direction, over.
Direction 1520.
This is Steel Rain, direction 1520, left 30, drop 70, out.
Lone BMP in the open. Request time of flight, request splash, over.
Lone BMP in the open, time of flight and splash, out.
So splash, you will probably have heard it before. Basically means that the FTC is going to issue a warning 5 seconds before the impact of the rounds, so that the observer can refocus on the target if he has to be like in cover, for example, where he doesn't want to like constantly stand there with a bino for the enemy to see. Then this is a handy thing to do. When high angle fire, generally time of flight and splash are always issued because the time of flight is so long. Whereas the low angle round here is probably going to be within like below 20 seconds if it's a low charge solution. By the way, I didn't say that at all. Go ahead.
Message to observer, steel rain, 3 rounds in effect. Time of flight, 1-3. Target number, Alpha Bravo 1005. Over.
Three rounds in effect. Time of flight 1-3. Target Alpha Bravo 1005. Over.
Shot, over.
Shot out.
Splash, over.
Splash out.
Sorry, it's a bit hard to know when they actually shoot. Oh, not too bad. Get it like that. He's waving his head no.
Yeah, there's only one thing to do.
Steel Rain, Argus, fire for effect. Except he's
Fire for
hauling
effect
ass
out.
away. So we better hope we get him before he fucking gets away.
So this is the first round fire for effect example. Had we fired for effect, he would be dead already. But that's of course you got to know how accurate is my target location, how good
Shot,
is
over.
my gun line.
Shot out.
So now he's behind the elephant grass somewhere.
Yeah, he's just a little bit left and.
Didn't do anything to the AI, by the way. That's just a normal reaction.
Oh.
That's perfect. One round was a little over.
I'm down to the power lines.
Oh, there you go.
Goodbye. So perfect example, right? As soon as you get fucking around that's, has an effect, fucking immediately fire for effect.
Okie dokie.
At this point, would I usually get a rounds complete from the
Yep.
battery?
Yeah, it's just I can't actually tell when they shoot the last.
I gotcha. Okay. Steel Rain, Argus, in mission, Alpha Bravo 1005. Target destroyed. Over.
Steel rain, mission ends, target destroyed. Out.
Okie dokie. At this point, everybody has fired a mission. I would basically open the floor also to those that have patiently been listening in. If you want to do one, I'll give the tag to all the other participants in the meantime.